Georgia pertaining to a child left out in the heat at a daycare. Thank you for joining me.
A 2-year-old girl alone outside in the heat on Tuesday.
Now, police in the state have opened investigation into the incident. Fox 5's Joy Duke says the details and what the daycare is saying tonight.
Yeah, that mother tells me her 1- and 2-year-old children were both enrolled here at Fayette Early Learning Academy. She says she now regrets that decision after staff somehow lost track of her 2-year-old who was left outside on a hot playground alone.
This daycare had cameras, and you lost my child.
Single mom Pamela Johnson says when she and her 2 small children made the recent move from Chicago to Atlanta, finding a daycare that allowed her to check on them in real time made her feel some comfort in an unfamiliar place.
I picked this daycare because of the cameras.
She tells Fox 5 what she saw on the Fayette Early Learning Center's camera system Tuesday afternoon was anything but a relief.
I see my son. He's asleep. I don't see my daughter. And they're supposed to be eating lunch.
Officials with the daycare confirmed a teacher left her daughter unattended.
It took for me to ask where my daughter is for them to even know that my daughter was missing.
Johnson says a staff member told her Temperance was alone for 35 minutes. Video from the facility shows the toddler out on the playground around 11:55 a.m. while temperatures were in the high 80s and the heat index was 95 degrees. Johnson believes at one point she appeared to pass out.
I can see my daughter trying to walk towards, to get to the gate and the door, and she collapsed. She falls.
The mother tells Fox 5 she was even more upset to learn staff did not try to get her daughter medical attention before she picked her up and took her to the ER hours later for examination. In response to a request for comment about Tuesday's incident, the daycare's program director, Melissa Staples, said, quote, "The teacher responsible for said child was terminated immediately. Teachers are expected to do head counts anytime they leave the classroom." It goes on to say, quote, "At no point in time was the child in distress or exhibited any signs of needing medical attention." Staples also told Fox 5 she called Johnson several times after the incident, but Johnson did not answer. Johnson says she is hesitant about going to another daycare, but says she does plan to enroll her children somewhere else. This daycare is listed in good standing on the state's Early Care and Learning website. In Peachtree City, Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Okay, so as you can see, the child is outside alone. The mother has access to cameras from the facility to watch and monitor her children. So what I'm trying to understand in a logical fashion, how did you forget this kid? We keep hearing these stories every year, people leaving their children in hot cars. I do believe most of those cases are deliberate. Staff members leaving children on school buses, daycare buses. We've had cases out of Florida pertaining to a child left on a bus. Now we have a child left outside a daycare in Georgia. You hear the mother speaking here. She is livid, upset, as she should be. She had 2 children enrolled in this daycare. Now she's having to find another daycare for her children, which, that's going to be an issue because naturally she works. Daycare fees are expensive. So now you're having to worry about taking off from work to try to find a daycare while trying to hold down a job and take care of other motherly duties. This is ridiculous to me. You're supposed to do a head count naturally. And at some point, you start to learn your children by faces, as I would hope any daycare worker would, kind of like a school teacher. You know who's in your class. You know who's in your class. You know who's not in class once you become familiar with the children, whether they're 3 years old, 4 years old, or they're 12 years old. So this daycare has fired the staff person immediately. Now, I wonder what her defense was when they asked her, well, what happened? How did you forget this child? What did she say? Or he? What did the person say in response to leaving the child outside? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. 85-degree heat, which heat index would have been, they said, around 100. Now, I want you to imagine being a small child outside, becoming exhausted from the heat. You're trying to make your way to safety, to what's familiar to you. But naturally with the heat, you're becoming disoriented. And on the camera, as I showed you during this video, she passed out. Now imagine had this facility, they didn't have cameras. I want you to just role play with me. Imagine there were no cameras for the parents to see what their children were doing inside and outside of the facility. That means the child would have probably lied out there and died in the heat. Is there anybody paying attention? 35 minutes. So if 35 minutes went by and nobody noticed the child was missing, that's a long time. So as I just said, imagine if the parent didn't have access to the camera to alert the staff that her child is outside. Where would we be today with this story? Possibly a worst case scenario. Because if you've gone 35 minutes and you only went out there to get the child because you were alerted by the parent who can see the camera from her phone, you probably would have went another hour or two. She probably would have, as I said, perished out there. This is absolutely ridiculous. Asinine and ridiculous. Now, what's even more asinine is the director's response to the little girl passing out. What did you say? You said, oh, she was all right. She didn't need no medical attention. We gave her some water and a popsicle. Really, Heifer? Mrs. Staples, that's your name? Do you know how stupid that sounds? You didn't think to take the child to a clinic or hospital just to make sure she was okay. Oh, because she was what, sitting upright? Well, she's alive, she's okay. We'll give her some water and a popsicle. Now you gotta count how long the children were out there playing, plus the time the child was left alone, allegedly 35 minutes, okay? Being watched on the camera from the mother or whatever she zoomed in to check on her children. So playtime is about what? 20 minutes, an hour? Don't know. So you count how long the children were out in the heat, plus the 35 minutes of her being left alone. I'll let that sit right there because I don't know the actual time. The point is, out. That's number one. Number two, nobody came to rescue her until the mother saw it on her phone and realized her children weren't together. She had two children in the daycare. The son's inside and the daughter's outside, melting in the heat. Mother alerts the staff that she sees her child outside. They go out and get her, and then voila. Bring her back in, give her water and a popsicle. And now the public statement from the director, Mrs. Staples, Miss Staples, whoever she is, oh, we gave her water and a popsicle. She didn't need medical attention. So this is how you deal with a child who has heat exhaustion. You don't know what could have happened to her little brain out there in the damn heat, you dodo bird. That's a lame-ass excuse that you gave. Talking about priority and the children are our main concern. We fired the person, but then you top it off with, she didn't need medical attention. We gave her water and a popsicle. So that negates everything you just said as far as children are your top priority. We fired the staff that did it immediately, but she didn't need medical attention. We gave her water and a popsicle. Really? That's your excuse. She's all right because she's alive. She drank the water. She took the popsicle. Hell, anybody would take the water and a popsicle. The hell is wrong with you? Anybody would have taken it. A cat, a dog, an animal, whomever would have taken the water and a popsicle, you fool. You sound like a fool. But this is what's wrong with people. They don't think before speaking. You sound callous in your statement. You had it souped up like you care about children. Oh, we fired the staff. And then you end it with, I gave her water and a popsicle. She didn't need medical attention. So you put that first. She didn't need medical attention. Oh, and we gave her water and a popsicle. Matter of fact, I tell you what you should do. You should put that on your logo outside of the building. Hey, we leave your kids outside, and when we find them, we give them water and a popsicle. We don't take them to the doctor, and we don't even call you. Sweet Jesus. This is This every day there's a problem somewhere in America, somewhere in the world with something, just callousness. Don't give two F's about nothing. I don't care what it is about, what the subject matter is about. It is always BS, and it's always BS pertaining to children. Because as we have seen, people are people. They're flawed. They're going to work with bad attitudes. They're mad. They're bitter. They're angry. They're vengeful. They're disconnected. I won't doubt the teacher probably was on her damn cell phone. Hell, I won't doubt the children were out there playing by themselves. How about that? We hear that this daycare has a good rating. They just lost that. Because now they leave children outside unattended to pass out in the damn heat. So that rating went way, 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 way down. Way, 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 way down. And now other parents are going to also wonder what the hell's been going on in this daycare, because everybody won't have time to look at their phone to monitor their children if they work a full-time job. Atlanta is a very expensive place to live, so I doubt that the parents have time to watch the app. Great to have the app, but it's not logical as far as watching it, and you have to hold down a full-time job. Or let's say you're going to school, you wouldn't have time to sit there and watch the app for 7-8 hours while your child is in their care. But I commend them for having the app and that tool where people can tune in to see and check on their children. That's a wonderful thing. So that way there won't be any misgivings, improprieties done on the clock and to and around your children. You can see where your child is, what they're doing, how they're talking to your child. That's a wonderful thing. But then now fast forward, a child has been left outside in the heat, passed out. They're soothing it over with a popsicle and water given to the child. Your mind now is saying, well, hell, what's the point of the damn app? Hello, Skylar. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Okay? What's the point? What's the point of the app if you're leaving the children unattended? So now somebody's going to say, well, let's go look at the footage for that day. What else do we notice that ain't right? Will we find out that something else has been going on even while the cameras are rolling? Because only a fool would do anything, towards the children while they have cameras there, while there are cameras there. But hey, people are busybodies. They don't care. And usually when people check out mentally from a job, check out mentally from life, they don't really care about cameras rolling. They don't care about an eyewitness testimony, and they don't care about cameras. So will we hear that other things are going on pertaining to the children at this daycare that never got out? Okay? Do we have some other fluffhead daycare teachers working there? And perhaps the director, she's a fluffhead, and now we're going to have to question the owner. Who's the owner of the daycare? Who owns the damn daycare? And the owner, you need to get rid of the director. Hell, the director might be the owner. Who knows? But if they're not the same person, the director, her ass needs to be out too, because her statement was ignorant. Who are you to determine if and when a child needs medical attention? She's been outside for God knows how long in the heat. She should have seen a doctor. Your assumption, because she's breathing, she's okay. Well, she passed out. You got it on camera. I mean, are you hearing this? It's on camera, she passes out, and you say, oh, she don't need medical attention. We gave her water and a popsicle. This is your method and your remedy to a small child passing out in the heat. And as I said, we don't even know how long the child was out there, because you got to count, as I said, the time the children went out versus the children exiting, and she's still the only one out there. So I'm going to ask this question. I want to check out of here. The person who's been fired, wherever you are, how did you miss this little girl on the playground? Because it's fenced in. So that means if you've got two eyes and you can see properly, How did you miss her in this fenced-in area? I'll wait. So now somebody's going to come in, some other dodo bird. Well, it depends on how big the property is. Maybe it's a really, really big place. It's a really big, big, big outdoor space. Yep, and it's a really big, 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 big outdoor space with a fence. How about that? Because I know there will be a dodo bird who will try to soothe over this and take up for these people. Because there always is. There's always an enabler. So let's go there, because I know I'm going to hear from some dodo bird. How big is the space outside that's enclosed? Any won't matter. Because the child was left alone. And by the grace of God, it did have a fence. Because just imagine there was no fence. She could have wandered out in the street, could have gotten kidnapped, anything. Bitten by a dog, worst case scenario. So grace to God, there was a fence. Grace to God, the child's okay, knock on wood. And prayers to the mother that she can find a decent care with appropriate staff, appropriate ownership, and appropriate direction to the staff and the treatment of the children. And who's to say that the next place she goes to, they probably won't have camera feed, and that'll probably bother her as well. Everybody will say, oh, we're good, we're great people, we got a great staff, we don't have any improprieties, we've got a good rating on the Google search and blah, 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 Better Business Bureau, but she still will be leery because it's her child, it's her children. And she has every right to be concerned. And imagine moving from a big city such as Chicago to Georgia, move down there, obviously to better her life or circumstances, to only have your child left on a playground, play area, unattended, and she passes out. So she's probably thinking, dear God, I've left a city with nothing but crime, foolishness, and mayhem to now come down here to the Atlanta, Georgia area for my child to be left alone on a playground and passes out. Who do I trust? Because you can't trust anybody. Every day you go out in the world and you take for granted everything. Because you're not thinking that, you know, I've got to worry about the school teacher. I got to worry about the daycare teacher. I got to worry about the boss. I got to worry about the coworker. I got to worry about the neighbor. I got to worry about the people I'm dealing with. Because you have to trust somebody. That's the world we live in. You have to trust somebody. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the plumber, the person that comes to check your Wi-Fi, cable. You have to trust somebody. That's the world we live in. You take your car to the mechanic shop. You got to trust them with your car. You leave your child at a schoolhouse or daycare. You're trusting somebody with your child. It's called blind trust. We all do it every day, and we pray there won't be a jump off. And in this situation, there was. But by the grace of God, it wasn't a fatality. Amen. Prayers to this woman, praying that she finds a safe place to house her children. And when I get an update, I will bring you that said information. This is live number 1. I will be back with another live pertaining to Miss Sonia Massey, who was unalived by a sheriff deputy who's currently in jail with no bail. He's pled not guilty to this murder. I'm going to play you content from Court TV, and we're going to listen to this one guy's opinion pertaining to what he thinks happened in that living kitchen area pertaining to Sonia Massey. Well, thank you for your time. Y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Take the polls on my community page. And please go on the YouTube queue for my extensive library of videos and shorts. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. I will see you all back here later for live number 2 pertaining to Sonia Massey. And then later tonight at 8, there will be a live number 3. And this will be, I will be streaming Seth Rogers' commentary with Mr. Joe Petito, Gabby Petito's father, I will check in with you all and we will watch it together to see what he has to say and what Mr. Joe has to say. And I think that's a good thing that they have reached out to one another. Don't know who reached out to whom, but Mr. Petito was in the same situation of having a missing child who was later found unalive. And the culprit was her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. And as most of you know, Seth Rogers has a 15-year-old boy child missing out of Hendersonville, Tennessee. So he needs to have camaraderie with people who have been in the same predicament. I think anybody who has a missing child, they should be in the company of people who have experienced the same situation. And hopefully Mr. Petito can be a good source of information and a guide for him in this troublesome time. Thank you all so much. I'll be back a little bit later. Have a wonderful afternoon. You have been listening to the Vault XL.